Hello everyone, another video coming to you today, and today I wanted to talk about my favorite 80s one-hit wonders. Yes, since we are treading our way back, and this time it's going even further back from the 90s to the 80s, since my last video was on, our last music talk was on the 90s one-hit wonders. Now, the 80s one-hit wonders I feel are a little bit more self-explanatory, the songs, and sort of the messages of the songs might be a bit clearer than the 90s ones were. And I think I'll try to make this one a little bit shorter, because I know that the last one, the 90s one, was just so long. But we'll kind of see how it goes, and I'll try to do my best to try to explain everything and try to make it a little bit more concise. But yeah, for the most part, I think that's really all I can really bring up to you guys about basically that aspect of this music talk and how it's basically going to break down. So without further ado, let me start the list. And this list again is in no particular order, similar with the 90s list and similar with all the one-hit wonders lists that I'll be doing for this entire month on Tuesdays. So, first song that I wanted to talk about was a song by Cutting Crew, and it's called I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight. And oh my lord, has anybody not heard of this song? This song is just really it's a very passionate song. I'll give it that. It sounds very deep and very emotional. The singer in particular, just how he enunciates certain things, it really brings out the kind of deep aspects of what he's trying to address, and sort of the conflicting emotions that he has. Because again, unlike maybe 80 songs that were probably ballads who focused maybe more on one particular emotion, it kind of displays within itself the lyrics that it's trying to give off conflicting sort of emotions. An example being the fact that he's sort of like, as you'll hear if you listen to the song, he's basically sort of he is in love, it seems like, but there's something that he is afraid of. He's having like conflicting emotions about it, and you'll kind of see this in how he says, like, I just died in your arms tonight, and then he says something like, I should have walked away. In other words, like, he has this really deep, profound emotion of not necessarily death, but like maybe something more deeper, maybe in the form of love or something. But he has regrets by saying such lines as, like, I should have walked away. And I think the idea is that he ends up meeting someone and ends up falling in love with them, but he doesn't really want to fall in love with them because he's never really had that experience before, and that experience is different, and it sort of is trying to change him, and he's sort of afraid of it. So there's this conflicting emotion, I think, going on within the narrator's head. On one side, he's very deeply passionate about this one person, and then on the other side, he's rather sort of on the side of, I should have walked away, I should have not let this happen to me, because he is the kind of person that maybe wants to be independent, or free, and not feel maybe tied down to somebody, but in a way, he is kind of tied down to this person because, he died in their arms. He's basically sort of like maybe sort of a prisoner to their heart, but at the same time they still have the other emotion of maybe not wanting to feel that way. And you kind of see how these emotions are just very conflicting and can sometimes be very confusing. I think this one's one of the more harder ones to explain. But basically what you have to understand by the song is just that he's kind of having conflicting emotions about what I think would be probably classified as love. There have been very different interpretations of this song. I mean, but from what I got out of it, that's basically what I felt he was really talking about. Because on the one hand, he is feeling something a lot deeper and a lot more intimate and a lot more meaningful, but it scares him because he's never been in that state before. And he's, I guess, maybe afraid of possibly the implications of that and maybe what that could mean. So it is a really powerful song, and you'd think with the way that it sounds, like he's trying to just talk about love, but he's kind of talking about the conflicting emotions of it. So and how it's not always just amazing. It's also challenging and hard to understand sometimes. So I think that's really what you need to kind of understand. If you can understand that, then you probably will identify yourself with this song. I think it does try to suggest those kinds of emotions, and how sometimes these feelings that we have are kind of conflicting. So I think that's really all I can say about that song. It's just very passionate, and it really does feel like it has that 80s sound to it. So I think that's really all I can say. It's just something that I can just hear on the radio time and time again and not get tired of that song. So I think that's really all I can say about that one. The next song that I wanted to talk about was a song by Rockwell, and it's called Somebody's Watching Me. Oh yes, this song. You remember the song that has also Michael Jackson does a particular point in this song. And I hear this song constantly, and I think of this song every now and again, maybe one Halloween or so, maybe when I'm by myself or I'm in a room or when it's dark or something. I'll suddenly think of this song because this song makes me think about those kinds of feelings of paranoia. And basically that's what this song is about, like somebody's watching me. You will really see that the narrator, as he is speaking, he is very, very paranoid. He almost isolates himself from people because he is so paranoid. And he describes himself as, some ordinary guy, and I think he kind of wants to be left alone. But he can't help but feel like somebody's watching him, and he has that very eerie kind of sound, but in a way that I think kind of encompasses a little bit of what the 80s sound was. So it sounds good with the emotions, but it also sort of reflects upon the time period, because it does sound like something that probably, at least to my ears, would come from the 80s. And it's kind of nice to have that one part with Michael Jackson saying, somebody's watching me. And I'm not trying to attempt to sing here, I'm just trying to say it, but not really sing it for you. But that's basically what he says. And it kind of has that eeriness to it. And I think it does it in a really good way. and it just sounds very cool and different, and that's why I really find myself enjoying it, I think, because it is kind of, it is sort of reminiscent of that era of the 80s, but it's also very different because it's dealing with somewhat more different emotions than a lot of the other songs that are probably on this list. So that's why I find myself identifying with it and why I find it in particular interesting. But I think that's basically all I can say about that song. It's just really about paranoia, and I think it's something that we've all experienced. And I'm wondering if anybody has ever had that feeling before, where you're in a room by yourself and this song suddenly comes into your mind. I'm just wondering. There has to be somebody else out there besides me. But I think that's really all I can say about that song. It's just very catchy and eerie and sort of reflects upon the time period of the 80s. So I could not put it on this list. Now the next song is actually by a European band, a German band actually, and it's by Nena, and it's called 99 Luftballons, or 99 balloons. And basically this song is about something that's sort of kind of reminiscent on something else that I haven't, or of a topic that I haven't really had a chance to discuss, because I've never really had a song that does really talk about this. But basically, according to the research that I found, it basically says that the song is about the dreams of the German people that were lost after World War II. The 99 balloons represent the many dreams that each person had. At the end of the song, she, meaning the singer, just wants to prove that the German people did have dreams by finding one balloon and letting it go. This was one of the songs in the 80s to make a point about the brinksmanship and paranoia/hysteria surrounding the issue of war. The song talks about Nena and the listener buying 99 balloons in a shop and letting them go for fun. These balloons show up on the radar as unidentified objects, and both sides scramble planes and go to full alert to counteract a perceived nuclear attack, when in fact it is the most childlike of things, a bunch of balloons. So, a rather uniquely different song. What I like in particular about the song is to me, I feel the German version, if you listen to because again, they are a German band, so the German version came first. I've heard like different opinions as to, if the lyrics are more clear in the English version, or if the German version just sounds better. I would probably recommend both. I'll probably try to put both of them in there so you can kind of see if it's possible for me to do so. But for the most part, I think the reason why I like this song in particular is because it is in a different language, and it really sounds good in that language, to me at least. I think the way that how she sings and how she presents the song in German it just flows very well, I think. And it also seems to have this kind of irony to it by sounding sort of kind of upbeat, and there's even at one point where you can almost like clap to it. It goes like ba-doo doo 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 pom ba-doo ba-doo boom boom boom, and then it goes da 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 da. It just sounds so upbeat that it's just rather different and unique, because it has that sort of irony with it, and how it's addressing something very serious like war, but maybe playing into sort of the sort of dreamlike innocence of the German people, like she said, or what she's trying to encapsulate by what she says in the song. So for the most part, I think the song is just very It's very catchy, and it's nice to see some. It's nice to have a a band on a one-hit wonder list that does a song in a different language. I'm very fascinated by languages, and even though I admit that I'm probably really horrible at them, I still like it when they speak in I hear songs in different languages. I think it just sounds cool to me, at least. But that's basically all I can say about that song. It's just very catchy. It has a hint of irony to it by the fact that it is dressing like complex and more traumatic issues like war, but sort of presenting itself in the other side of the lyrics that emphasize the point that really the balloons are just dreams. So for the most part, it does have this kind of catchy feel to it, and it's just nice to hear a song in a different language, and it's nice to hear that it is a one-hit wonder. So I think that's really all I can say about that song. The next one I wanted to mention was Modern English, and the song is called I Melt With You. Oh my lord, this song, it's so much fun. You probably, if you have not heard of this song, it's been done in commercials, particularly the Hershey's commercials, but it's just been done just kind of, they just make it sound so differently than how it originally sounds at times. So that's really kind of, it's just a little odd to hear it in a Hershey's commercial and then have it just be switched around and done so differently with the sound. But for the most part, the song, which I kind of didn't realize this, but now that I looked into it more, I realized that the song is sort of a plea to reclaim a love that has already been lost. So basically, the narrator wants to try to regain, I guess, someone that was a former lover, because he can't seem to find somebody else that is like that person. And you'll sort of see this within the lyrics and how he sort of talks about how sort of she reflects the fact that she is somehow better than everybody else, and in doing so, he when he is trying to sort of pursue her and reclaim her, he's sort of becoming somebody else, and this is kind of emphasized in the point where he says, you see the difference, but it's getting better all the time. Sort of like the fact that, the difference is basically his personality or his maybe his appearance or things like that. But I guess it's somehow making him, I guess, better. I guess kind of capturing something within himself that wasn't maybe there before, and how that person was able to do that. So for the most part, I think that's really what the song is trying to show, and the fact that he sort of emphasizes that I think he does try to emphasize the point of when he says, I made a pilgrimage to save this human race, never really knowing that something has gone long by, or something to that extent, sort of. And I think that's kind of trying to emphasize the point that, nothing else in the world is like this person, and nothing else really is so important as, you know, being with that person. So when he says, I'll stop the world and melt with you, it's kind of like saying, like, I would become sort of maybe a part of you in a way, or I'll be with you in a certain context, because there's nothing else in the world that is like you, because he can't seem to find somebody else that is like this particular person. So that's really the whole point of the song. It's sort of trying to find trying to reclaim that person, because he realizes how that person is just so important and has been such an impact onto his life that he cannot not try to get himself back into her life somehow. So I think that's really what the song's trying to encapsulate for the most part. But I think that's really all I can say, and it's just very enjoyable. It has this kind of catchiness to it, and it's not really full-blownly passionate, sort of like the first song I mentioned by Cutting Crew. It's a little bit more, it has that catchy beat mixed with a little bit of passion within the singer's voice, but it's just sort of more mellow, I think. And it does have that similar kind of 80s sort of vibe to it. And again, this song has been used so many times, but it seems to be the only song that people really remember modern English from. So yeah, if you haven't heard the song, totally recommendable if you want to check it out. The next song that I wanted to mention was Soft Cell, and they did a song called Tainted Love. Oh my, this song. This song is very different from the other ones, and how it sounds a little bit more kind of almost seductive, I want to say, in a way, just by how the singer sings the song, and how he says, like, and how he expresses certain words. And you'll kind of notice this if you choose to watch or listen to the song. But basically the song is, again, sort of a relationship song, and basically it's not about trying to reclaim somebody so much as it's about, like, modern English song, but it's about trying to get away from somebody, but getting away from that person is sort of difficult. And basically the singer feels like he's being strung along so by the other person, and he feels sort of messed with. And you'll see this in the lyrics when he says, I gave you all a boy could give you. And then it says something like, take not nearly, but that's not something like enough. Sort of emphasizing the point that, no matter what I do, it's probably not even, it's not good enough for you. And then he says things like, I can't stand the way you tease. He's like, I love you, but you hurt me so. Clearly emphasizing the point of conflicting emotions, similar to Cutting Crew, but in sort of a more seductive, like, tone almost. Because when he says the word, like, tease, I love you, but you hurt me so. Now I've got to pack my things and go. Just kind of showing, like, hey, it's not going to cut it anymore, even though it's really hard to quit you. I'm I have to ultimately let you go. And it's sort of those kinds of conflicting emotions as to how to leave somebody who's messing up your mind. So I think it is very identifiable to a certain extent. So definitely worth checking out. And it does have that 80s vibe sound, and it's really cool. Really like it. Now the next one is actually a song that Ton the Shadows on that guy with the glasses website. He already did this song, and I could not mention it because it is a wonderful song, and it's by Aha and it's called Take On Me. And if you see, I think the music video is rather famous, and I'll try to put the link that has the music video. But basically what the song is, I think, sort of trying to suggest is a guy who is trying to address the narrator, who is a guy who is sort of doesn't know how to express that he loves somebody, or that he loves a girl, I guess you could say in this context. If you do watch the music video, you'll kind of see what I mean by that. But it's sort of that first step that's always the hardest, I guess, for him in this case, because he can't really tell her how he feels, and then he sort of, I think with what he's saying with Take On Me is sort of like let us, take it to the next level, let us be kind of together in a romantic relationship. That's kind of what I think he's trying to ultimately say to her, and you'll kind of see how that sort of progresses within the song. And basically towards the end, when he's like, take on me, I'll be gone in a day or two, sort of, I think that's trying to emphasize the point that it's kind of like now or never. It's sort of like saying, I am presenting myself to you, and sometimes I think when we do present ourselves to somebody, it can ultimately change the relationship. So it is sort of a risk, but it's nice to kind of see this this sort of play out within the song, and you really do sort of get the sense of the singer's passion, and the guy who sings this song, he gets some really high notes, especially sort of towards certain points, especially when I think he hits 2. When he says 2, it's just so high, but really well done, and a lot of passion and effort, I think, was put in with that song, and it just really caught on, and a lot of people remember it. It's probably one of the more well known, similar to Modern English, which is probably one of the more well known, and probably Cutting Crew is maybe a little bit more well known too. But this one, I think in particular, is something that people really do remember, especially with the music video itself, which I'll try to put in the link. But for the most part, that's really what it is. It's just a basic crush song, but it really tries to express with the music that it's not just kind of I guess cheesy or maybe shallow. It tries to portray itself in really a deeply passionate and profound way. So that's kind of nice, because we don't really see those kinds of songs where usually when we do have passionate songs, they're really about something really passionate and deep. But here it's just taking that one little step that does have such profound emotional impacts on people, that I think that's why it really ended up resonating for the most part. at least from what I can tell and how the song presents itself. So definitely recommendable. Definitely worth taking into consideration. Now the next song that I wanted to talk about was Tommy Tutone, and this is 8675309/Jenny being the name of the song. And this song is actually not about it's not based upon somebody. So, and basically what one of the guys in the band said, his name's Alex Call, and he basically said there's no Jenny, and I don't know where the number came from. I was just trying to write a 4-chord rock song, and it just kind of came out. So similar sort of to the Beatles song that I mentioned in one of my videos, where I did talk about the Beatles and how the band really didn't come up with, didn't base their song off somebody's name. In particular, my name. Like, my name, it wasn't really an actual person. They just decided what sounded good, and Michelle just sounded good. And this is kind of the same thing with 8675309. Basically, you know, it's about somebody getting a girl named Jenny's number. That's basically what the song is about. There's really nothing so much more deeply into it, but I think the way it presents the number is just has been so catchy, and it's just been, and I even heard that this song actually, there's an actual number. I think you can actually buy that number, 8675309. But it costs a lot of money because the number has just become so famous because of this song, and it just happens to be just a one-hit wonder. And I like how it tries to be kind of catchy and tries to have a very upbeat sort of sound to it. But that's really all it is. It's just, I think this is one of the more catchy ones that just takes something very simple like a number and just makes it somehow very memorable. But I think that's really all I can say about that song. The next one I wanted to talk about was by a band called Dead or Alive, and it's called You Spin Me Round Like a Record. And yes, this song, this is more, I think, a clubbyish type song or dance-like song, because it has been redone at times. I think there is like a famous, someone famous, I don't know, who just did a cover for it. If you watch the ending of The Hangover, you'll see that they do play this song, but they play the other version of it. They don't play this version of it. So yeah. And well, personally, I feel like the original is just better for me. But the song plays itself out as a more of a dance-like song, because it does sound like like whenever I picture this song, I literally picture people being dressed up in 80s costumes and just and then dancing around to this kind of a beat that the song has. And basically the song is more about infatuation. You'll see how the lyricist has just met this person, but he wants to have, he's somehow very interested in her, or this person, again, it can be male or female, doesn't really matter. And basically he wants to get to know the person, because he thinks for some reason that person just seems so fascinating. And I think this kind of infatuation comes from the fact, by the sheer title of the song, "You spin me round like a record, baby, right round. It's very encapsulating, because the lyricist really does try to emphasize like he's sort of maybe on cloud nine or something. He's really trying to paint this picture to you like he is. I'm really want to get to know this person, da 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 da, because it just sounds so kind of, I guess, intoxicating at points, and it's just very catchy and very memorable, and I find myself really enjoying it for what it is. And it does have that, again, that 80s vibe to it, and it's just a lot of fun. I find myself really enjoying it. Next song that I wanted to talk about was sung by Weather Girls, and it's Rainin' Men. And how do I describe how amusingly awesome this song is? It's probably hard for me to describe, but I can really describe to you that the song is just about women being glad that the weather forecast says it's going to rain men. That's basically what the entire song is about. I don't think there's really any hidden kind of symbolism or any of that stuff. I think the lyrics just speak plainly for themselves. This song has been used so many times. Oh my lord, it's just out there. I mean, radio still play it constantly at times. I mean, I really think that this song tries to get into your head, and I mean, it's just really fun to listen to, because and what it's talking about, I think, really makes it fun. And I'm really sorry the phone's ringing, but I can't kind of really control that. Somebody will just have to answer it. Yay, somebody answered it. But basically, it's done in sort of more, I think, a gospel style. This song, so I want to say, from how it sounds, it just sounds a little bit different than a lot of the songs that I have been mentioning, because it does go for a more gospel style, and the way that the singers sing the song is just very gospel-like, and it's really good. I mean, it's really catchy, and it's just been done time and time again, and has been used for comedy, and has been used in so many different contexts as well. And it is kind of a song that probably would appeal to the female demographic a lot, because it's just so it's because it is trying to address the idea of being able to, go out and just be around the opposite gender. Basically, that's kind of how the song presents itself, and it's just a lot of fun. It's really fun to listen to, and it just has a different kind of style than a lot of the ones that I've been mentioning. So it's kind of a little bit refreshing, I think, to this list. Next one I wanted to talk about was a song by Midnight Noel, and it's called The Beds Are Burning. And basically, this one is kind of another song that's maybe geared towards something more socio-political, similar sort of to the 99 Luftballons. And I almost said und, which is and in German, but basically the political message in this song is that the lyricist wants to give back the Australian land to the Pintupi, who were among the very last people to come in from the desert. And basically, I think he tries to emphasize this with when he says like the time has come to pay the rent. I think he's trying to say it's time that we do something, and it does seem to be like he does speak, or he does sing in a more sort of like kind of forceful way, and that's why I think this song in particular is kind of more is interesting, because it doesn't really sound like a lot of the other songs that I've been mentioning. It sounds a little bit more straightforward, even though the lyrics are they're not really as clear, like beds are burning. I wouldn't really necessarily know what that context would be, but from what I could research, that's basically what the song is trying to present. Overall, it's just this political idea, and I think that really goes with how it sounds, and by how the singer sings, by being very kind of straightforward and saying like the beds are burning, and by saying like the time has come, and it's very, it sounds so straight to the point, because I think that's really what he's trying to encapsulate, is the idea that this is what we should do, and this is something that I am for, and that's why it's time for us to do something in his mind. And I think that's something interesting that a political song could do, by being a little bit more direct, unlike 99 balloons, or 99 Luftballons, where it's done with a little bit more irony. I think here it's trying to be a little bit more direct onto its message, and kind of not necessarily sound so upbeat. I think it's trying to sound a little bit more on the side of being a little bit more straightforward, but by still having some kind of mystery with these sorts of analogies, like beds are burning, but I really like how it is a little bit more straightforward in how he sings, compared to everybody else, where it's a little bit more fluffy, and here it's a little bit more hard and gritty, by how he sings. So that's not really all I think I could say about that song. Second to last one is Lean on Me by Club Nouveau. I believe this song is actually a cover, but I really do remember this song being played a lot. And the lyrics sort of speak for themselves. Like, lean on me means sort of a way of saying, hey, I'm here to help you. And like how he says, I'll help you carry on. The idea of, no matter what, I'll try to be, and I will be there for you. That idea. So it's really straightforward, and it does sound maybe a little bit more gospel-y, a little bit maybe more preachy, I'd say, would probably be a word for it, because he does kind of say things in a more kind of a welcoming way, when he sings, when he says like, come on me brother and I'll be your friend. You know, it's just very like just welcoming, and with the way the piano plays itself, it kind of shows this more gospel preach like tone, and it's just nice, very nice to listen to, and I really like this version, if it is a version. I am still confused whether or not it is or isn't or not from my research. It's just one of those things where I do research, but then I'm not 100% sure again if what I read was absolutely correct. But I just remember this version, and I remember this song, and I really found myself enjoying it for what it is, and I like how it's just sort of simplistic in what it's trying to say, and how how it sounds brings out sort of that simplicity, but in an emotional and profound way. But I think that's really all I can say about that one. Last song is a song by Will to Power, and it's called Baby I Love Your Way / Freebird. Now you might be wondering, isn't Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd? And yes it is. Yes it is. Of course it is by Lynyrd Skynyrd. However, it was decided that they would use some of the lyrics from Lynyrd Skynyrd's song and incorporate it into their song. And basically, it's sort of hard to, I think, and it was hard to it's kind of, it was hard to really find an interpretation of the song, because I didn't seem to find anything that really told me anything so much. But I think it's interesting how they combined this Baby I Love Your Way, and it is sort of like a duet. The guy is singing like the parts of Freebird, and then the girl is singing the Baby I Love Your Way part. And basically what I like is how it combines these two different kinds of songs together. And for some reason these songs are just very different, because on the one hand you have somebody like the guy in this song who's singing basically the parts of Freebird and then pretty much the chorus. And when he's singing the parts of Freebird, you realize that Freebird is sort of like a song about being free from love, and being free of sort of the burden of somebody else. And he literally says the lyrics like and this bird cannot change or will not change. I'm not sure if I think they actually might have changed that part a bit as to exact wording, but what the gist of he's saying is pretty much the idea of, you can't change me. It's time for me to go away now. It's time for me to say bye-bye, And then she is singing this part that's so encapsulated in this person. Like, she's singing to him like, I love your way every day. I want to be with you night and day. It's so contrasting that it's kind of funny. And then they still sing the chorus together where they're saying like, ooh, baby, I love your way every day. And it might be something that has to do with maybe conflicting ideas and maybe emotions. Like the idea of Freebird with, being free and not being attached and not having to worry about people and other people's problems, and being able to make something of yourself by not feeling, I guess, attached to someone or controlled by somebody. And then what she's saying is basically that how in love she is with him. and it's kind of funny to see these two things being said in one song. And I just remember myself really enjoying it for what it is. And I find it interesting the fact that it is sort of a duet. But as far as the context, it's kind of hard for me to say, because again, it is sort of dealing with different sides. It might be that he has ideas of becoming free, but then suddenly, when he sings the chorus, he's suddenly, back with her again, and everything's okay and happy. I don't know. I personally feel like this was the one where it was difficult for me to really say what it's really ultimately trying to say. But if you really listen to Freebird, and if you do listen to the parts of Freebird, and you do listen to the parts of what she's singing, they're not necessarily the same meaning. But I think that could be interpreted different ways. I think for me it just means that she's somehow in love with him, and then he has these other emotions, these other different emotions, but somehow, despite those emotions, he's able to come back sort of in the chorus and say, "Baby, I love your way every day." I think it's just, I really think they did use Freebird because it sounded good, because Freebird actually mixed with the sound of this song actually sounds really good, at least to me. So I mean, I think that's really all I can say about that song. It's just, it's nice to hear, and it's very interesting. But again, I think that's really all I can say about all of the songs that I've mentioned. Any questions, comments, concerns, more than happy to answer them. And yeah, until next time, bye everybody.